Good afternoon. It's 2:00 on the dot. Welcome. I'm just going to give everybody a few seconds to come in. Hanging in there. I know we're live. Waiting on my chat. So everybody, studies show that the adult body produces 10% less collagen every single decade. And if you are over 40, like I'm about to be in just a couple days, this should terrify you. Collagen is the glue that holds our bodies together. And if you're seeing more defined wrinkles or feeling lethargic, just realize that it really has nothing to do with your diet, your sleep schedule, your workout routine, or anything like that. It has to do with your body's natural collagen production, which is why I highly recommend Health with Beans. I have noticed a more youthful glow, decreased wrinkles, this is true, and more energy since taking my multi-collagen. And my skin is so much better, and my arms aren't as saggy and gross, and that is absolutely the truth. I didn't have to get on a new diet. I didn't have to sleep more. Didn't have to start exercising. I'm too stuck at my desk. Anyone over 40 should be taking advantage of this new opportunity in anti-aging technology. You can learn more by going to healthwithbeans.com, and you'll get 51% off your first bottle if you order today, plus a 60-day money-back guarantee. Hi, guys. Hey, guys. Thanks for joining me today. I wanted to go over a couple different things with you live today. I wanted to go over the Arizona hearing from yesterday, and I wanted to go over what's going on in Georgia. I am hearing rumblings that Candace in Georgia just served Kemp with a lawsuit. I have Wendy Strauss-Mahoney writing a piece on that for us right now. She is absolutely amazing. Michelle Edwards, amazing journalist at Uncover DC. John Nevin, amazing journalist at Uncover DC. I am so blessed to be working with such an amazing team of talented people. So I wanted to make sure everybody listens to the podcast today at 2:30. It comes out at 2:30 with Frank and I, Dark to Light. But I wanted to go through this article. A lot of people, I hear a lot of people saying that they don't like when they have to read a long article. So I figured perhaps I would read through it with you. And that way it can be like a little team exercise that we do together. Love you guys. I miss talking to you live so much. I'm so glad I'm doing this. Here, let's go through the audit. Irrefutable testimony from the Arizona Senate audit team debunks the left's, quote, big lie. Arizona senators have been vindicated in their search for information on the 2020 election. Senate President Karen Fann and Senator Warren Peterson, chairman of the Senate Committee on the Judiciary, presided over a hearing yesterday on the progress of the unprecedented full forensic audit of the Maricopa County election. Cyber Ninja's CEO Doug Logan, who led the audit, and Ben Cotton, founder of Cypher, testified about some of their findings. Ken Bennett, Senate liaison for the audit, was also present. Fann opened up with remarks stating the, quote, audit was not easy and has been a national, if not international event. The Senate audit was not merely about counting ballots. Over 1,500, they showed a video in the beginning of this. I don't know if you guys all saw. Over 1,500 people were involved from all over the country, and about 1,100 of them were volunteers, according to Fann's opening remarks. The independent auditors painstakingly combed through upwards of 2.1 million ballots. An audit with this level of detail has never been performed in history, ever. The hearing opened with a detailed video accounting of the caution and care with which the audit was performed. Totally linked in the article, you guys, so it's in the description box below. If you want to see the video, you can just click here, and there it will be for you. The Senate audit was, quote, a bipartisan effort with the intent to provide feedback to voters to enable them to get better in their election process, or to provide findings to the Arizona Senate to enable them to create measures that would ensure that in the future, residents of Arizona could have confidence in the election process. I think that's good. To date, issues were found with the storage and labeling of ballots, record keeping, and a failure to do security updates, a failure to provide system logs to the auditors, and a breach of public server with unauthorized access. It is now undeniably true that county officials failed to follow a myriad of rules regarding the proper conduct of free and fair elections. Unfortunately, the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors has yet to deliver routers, passwords, and hardware keys previously subpoenaed by the Arizona State Senate. And again, it's linked here. We have been writing on this forever. You can look back through the archives at Uncover DC and find an entire history of everything that we're talking about here. Among the specifics discussed by Bennett and Logan, who talked about the chain of custody and ballot counting and security issues, are the following. Starting on April 21st, these materials were received. 1,691 boxes of mostly ballots on 46 pallets. They ended up with 1,711 boxes on 47 pallets because there was a whole bunch of different things they had to do to get everything settled. 26 mismarked boxes. 8 boxes on the ballots that were not on the manifest, and a couple of boxes on the manifest that were not present. 2 boxes had data cards, hard drives, and fobs, all of which were transferred to Ben Cotton of Cipher for data analysis. Boxes had personally identifiable information interspersed with spoiled ballots and were segregated and secured immediately, which created another 16 new boxes. All other material was put back exactly as found with security tape. Some boxes were received with regular packing tape and broken seals. 9 high-volume scanner machines, 20 adjudication stations, EMS workstations and EMS servers, along with some miscellaneous equipment, 385 precinct tabulators on racks, identified and recorded by serial number, 24/7 live stream cameras, 2 petabytes worth of data by the end. 2 petabytes is 2,000 terabytes. That's insane. And a strict chain of custody within view of a camera with a paper trail and 2 or more people of different political parties every time something was moved. The purpose of them lying this all out, in my opinion, in the beginning was so that they could demonstrate that any possible challenge to tampering or any of that stuff would be immediately debunked with video evidence. Bennett explained that there were significant issues with ballot batches being properly identified on the outside of the boxes, mostly from the voting centers, he continued. There were around 1,000 in a batch in some boxes, and you would see a batch number on some, but not others, and some had cut seals. Batch counts were often not matching or poorly documented, like this chart that they provided for everybody to view during the hearing. Some of them were correct, as you can see here, and other were duplicates that were not original ballots and could not be tracked in any way, shape, or form. Interesting. Bennett added that 2,089,563 ballots were processed in total. 1.9 million ballots were processed through the mail at Central Count, and about 168,000 ballots were processed at the 171 polling locations around the state or the county. In many cases, the pink sheets associated with the ballots were not properly documented. They said in this hearing, which I think we have a clip of, during the process, they had to actually have an outside group FOIA for these other blue sheets that they obtained. They didn't even get these pieces of information from the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. Interesting. Via FOIA requests, they obtained the blue sheets in some cases that helped explain some of the discrepancies. It's almost as though they withheld the blue sheets to try and make them look stupid, you know? So weird. They were not aware of the blue sheets prior to the audit and did not receive blue sheets from Maricopa County officials. Thank you so much for the super chat. That is super helpful. Seriously, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Bennett also mentioned that it was difficult throughout the process to get the County Board of Supervisors to cooperate with records requests, evidenced by the need to use the third parties to request public records to access the blue sheets, among other issues. Bennett also stated that while violations of the... Hold on. I have a signal message coming through. Sorry, this was important. Where was I? Bennett stated that while violations of the law may not have taken place with regard to record keeping, he recommended changes in, quote, directives or state laws that says you have to put the ballots in a specific way. Somebody in the chat just told me to stop saying super. Super, super, super. Why? Why would I stop saying that? It is a super chat. Whatever. Notably, there was just a discussion of the ballot paper, which should not allow bleed through. A Just the Facts flyer was sent out in June of 2021 by the Maricopa Elections Department. The flyer showed details on the ballots used, the paper used, the importance of ballot alignment, and other critical details of elections to reassure the voters of Arizona about the security of their elections. The paper is very important. I have a complex now. The auditors noticed significant differences in the thickness of the paper in many instances. Bleed through is an incredibly important kinematic artifact because it can skew votes, resulting in voters not voting for their intended candidate, which brings up Sharpiegate. Sharpiegate. Do you remember Sharpiegate from Arizona? There were ballot offsets in 168,000 on-demand election day ballots due to poorly aligned printing issues. 168,000 ballots. Logan stated that more work needs to be done to find out what printers caused those offsets and where those ballots were printed. Ballots were calibrated so poorly that in some cases they were 3,200% off the mark. 3,200% off on the calibration of the ballots. If you remember in the Georgia hearings, Joe Von Hutton Pulitzer talked about that marking at the top and the bleed. Here's a chart right here from their analysis. Maricopa County specifically spoke about having used vote secure paper, which means its coated thickness is designed to prevent problems with calibration and bleed through. Logan stated, quote, "This is an indication of problems that could cause an overvote situation or cause votes to be cast for a different candidate than intended." As a reminder, Peterson remarked that Sharpiegate happened in Maricopa, and the Maricopa elections people came back and said that bleed through would not have affected other votes. And to someone in the comments point, they have too much evidence to not completely throw this election out in Arizona. That's absolutely true, in my opinion. Mail-in votes, this video will be removed in less than 10 minutes. Promise you. Mail-in votes, illegal late registrations, and voters who magically appear. This is crazy. This is crazy. There were 74,243 more ballots received than sent out. Additionally, 11,326 people didn't show up in election files on November 7th, but suddenly appeared on December 4th, and it was recorded that they had voted in the 2020 election. Signatures were not properly verified over time. Due to the large this is another thing too. I almost skipped it. 3,981 voters were registered after October 13th who voted, and there was a court decision against that. 18,000 voters who voted were shown to have been removed right after the election. Documentation is needed on those voters, and canvassing would help, which is what they were fighting against. You can canvass for vaccines, no worries. Personal medical records in the hand of some random government volunteer coming to your door to try to force you to pump your arm full of gene therapy, all good. All good. But if you want to canvass to see if there are actual voters living in a district, no. No good. Privacy issues. Signatures not properly verified over time. Due to the large volume of mail-in ballots, standards for verifying signatures degraded over time. We went from a 20-point verification to 10-point, and then finally not verifying at all. One of the best safeguards to prevent fraud, says Mark Fincham, who spoke with us yesterday, is the validation of voter signatures. If that is removed from the system, there's no way to stop fraudulent votes. It nullifies legitimate votes. I will be calling on colleagues to stop using electronic tabulation as a primary means of processing ballots. Hand tabulation using electronic verification after the vote is counted will be a must in the future. Fincham added, "It is no longer incumbent upon us to prove this election was clean. It is incumbent upon the Maricopa County Board of Elections to prove it wasn't. If the logs are what contain the records of intrusion and they refuse to give them up, we must assume those machines were compromised. This election in Arizona is a steaming garbage heap with the limited information we saw in the hearing today." Then we had thousands of duplicate ballots with no matching serial numbers. You wouldn't know which ballot was which. There is no way to know that votes are reflected properly. Bennett said there is a specific process in election procedures for duplicating ballots, which says they are to record an identical serial number on both the original and the duplicate, including the spoiled ones, which ties them together and creates a paper trail as required by statute. They found thousands of duplicate ballots where those serial numbers are not on them, and it creates a great difficulty to try and match them up. Here is a small table of that stuff going on. And then the safeguards that they put in on the data side. I'm not going to read through all of this because I want to get to some clips in Georgia, but the rest of the article has to do with the Splunk data that was not provided with the intrusion in November. With the intrusion in November, this letter was sent out to a voter in Arizona saying that their information was compromised, i.e., by the way, listen, someone got your voter data, and that in and of itself is a huge issue, an absolutely huge issue. I'm writing to inform you of a recent security incident involving your voter record. I wonder why they'd need that. I mean, of all the things that they could hack, why the voter record? Cotton stated that it is a matter of fact that the public element record of the election was breached. The public-facing registration server had unauthorized cybersecurity breaches. No antivirus or system updates or security patches have ever been performed since the installation of the software by Dominion in August of 2019. No operating updates or patches have ever been applied. Additionally, in March, 37,646 queries hit the system for a blank password on a system that only contained 8 accounts. Why are those important? They're important because the logs can only hold 20 meg of data. And so when those queries come in, they flood the log and then everything before it is erased. And what they're looking for are the Splunk logs to be able to prove what that was there before. Passwords. Commonality of passwords, big problem. Sharing passwords mean you can't attribute actions back to one person. Abnormal Windows behavior found. What happened with authentications to the Windows machines? They're missing a lot of data from Maricopa County because they refused to give it up. What I wanted to do here is play some clips that Liz Harrington grabbed from the hearing.
We have 74,243 mail-in ballots where there is no clear record of them being sent. And just to be clear, here in the state of Arizona, there's EV32s and EV33s. EV32s is supposed to give a record of when a mail-in ballot is sent, and an EV33 is supposed to give a record of when the mail-in ballot is received. And so there should be an equal, there should be more EV32s, more sent out than there are that are received. Specifically with these, we can tie them to a specific individual that was mailed to. And so we have 74,000 where we have them came back from individuals where we don't have a clear indication that they were ever sent out to them. That could be something where documentation wasn't done right. There was a clerical issue. There's not proper things there. But I think when we've got 74,000, it merits knocking on a door and validating some of this information.
So, Madam President.
So there's one issue.
Seen some interesting things related to the voter rolls. So, for example, we have 11,326 people that did not show up on a November 7th version of the voter rolls.
Yes,
that
this
should
is a
have
replay.
Been, after votes were cast, but then appeared on the December 4th voter rolls. And just to be clear, they show as voted in this past election, but they were not a November 7th version of the file, and they did show up on the December 4th version.
Okay, that sounds confusing.
I-
Give me an explanation of why that might have, I mean, we're not saying there's fraud, we're not saying anything else. I'm just trying to find.
We're not saying there's fraud. I mean, I know, Senator, I love you. I love you. I praise you. God bless you. We need to stand behind these people, the bravery. We're not saying there's fraud. Why not? I mean, at this point, for goodness sakes.
Answers. Is there a logical explanation why that would be?
I cannot think of a logical explanation on what that would be, but it'd be a great thing to hear back from the county to see if there's anything that we're not thinking of.
Okay.
So we have
More.
So we have, from what I understand here in Arizona, they originally Hobbs had requested that the registration date for voting be moved up to Election Day, and there was actually a court case that moved it back to October 15th. Based on the registration information that we found in the voter rolls, we have 3,981 individuals who show as having voted in this election, and their data shows up in the canvas as having voted in this election. However, they were registered after October 15th.
I don't think they
So
want
we
to
have,
blame an oops.
From what
Someone said, like, in response to what I was saying about declaring that there was fraud. I don't think they want to be able to blame an oops, but I think that there's more going on here than we're being told.
and then showed as being removed from the voter rolls soon after the election. So they were on the voter rolls, they showed as voted, and then they were removed. And there could be a good logical explanation for that, but it seems like a large number to immediately have after an election be removed. And so getting more documentation on the request removed from voter rolls or other process to make sure that makes sense seems logical. In addition, again, knocking on doors and canvassing can help validate that information.
Okay. Mr. Bennett, besides knocking on doors, how would we also obtain that information? Secretary of State, voter rolls, Maricopa County, or knocking on doors is the only way to do it? I don't understand.
Well, the original voting records are kept at the county level. That is shared electronically on a daily basis with the Secretary of State's office. It keeps a statewide voter database. The Secretary of State's office receives information from vital records and other courts and et cetera, that is then in kind of reverse sent to the county levels to let the counties know who's died, who's been adjudicated in a court hearing as being incompetent or lost their voting rights because of a felony conviction or something like that. So I guess we could look at almost daily data between the county and the Secretary of State's office.
All right, thank you.
I have another thing that I want to play for you, but I have to email it to myself really quickly so that I can. It's Senator Sonny Borelli, who is a rock star. He's really awesome. I'm just emailing myself. Just stand by a second. Of course, I closed my email. He's a rock star. I mean, he's fantastic. And he's one of the senators who's been right on top of this. And I want to play for you a bit of an interview that he gave right after this hearing yesterday. Oops. There's my email for everyone that I sent myself. Copy. Bear with me.
Hopefully 20,000, I think it was about.
All right.
Hello, Senator Borelli. So we just got out of the preliminary report from the audit, and I guess I would like to hear what your, first impressions were, and what do you think next steps should be?
Well, obviously, the results that we've gotten so far are very concerning. We have, 74,000 ballots or votes that were unaccounted for. They got sent in, but there's no record of them going out in the mail, but they came in. There's a lot of questions that the county needs to step up, come to the table and answer, because the process is, we're finding is either completely sloppy, either it's on their end or somebody else is doing something nefarious. We need to figure this out. So trying to get the county to cooperate has been a struggle They don't want to cooperate. They go into court, they say they're going to cooperate. Then when they leave the courtroom, they're not cooperating. But they've been extremely, in resistance and total obstruction. And this needs to stop because they have to remember that they work for the voters of Maricopa County. And they are ultimately responsible over the election department for their county. And of course, we're in charge of, our authority over elections is constitutionally set in stone. So we have every right to examine and do an audit of the system. But for them to be taking this posture, continuing to take this posture of defiance is just really off the charts, especially when we know there's Dominion Systems is suspect, especially on the process, and then they go out and they just decide to vote to replace all the machines and spend tax dollars on something that people are not going to have any confidence in. So, is this really, hopefully that they're going to come to the table and President Phan's going to be reaching out to them and we're going to try to get some down to the bottom of some of these questions.
Yeah, there were a lot of unanswered questions today. I saw that, there seems to have been some deliberate intent to override logs, the system logs and the Windows files that we talked about. Then I thought that was interesting. The vulnerabilities and the cyber vulnerabilities that have been exposed, the fact that they've never updated any of the antivirus software or anything like that. So the Splunk logs. Tell me about the Splunk logs. So those are really key, and we are not in session right now, so we can't enforce the subpoenas because we're not in session, correct?
That's not true. That's absolutely not true. I mean, when we were in session, we couldn't enforce the subpoena because it takes 16 votes to enforce the subpoena, majorly hold them in contempt and take them into custody. But you can only take them into custody until we're at the end of session. But our subpoena power is still in effect. Our investigative authority does not end at sine die. We can issue another subpoena. If we need to, it has to go to court, we'll go to court. Now, there's other tools in the toolbox that hasn't been used yet, and we're waiting. Hopefully they'll cooperate and come to the table and answer the subpoena and cooperate with the Senate. Once again, there's another tool in the toolbox. It hasn't been used yet. And we will use that when we need it. And I don't want to say too much on that, but there it is. Just because we're out of session, like I said, we just we can when the complete audit is done, they're going to bring those results to the Senate Judiciary Committee, and the Senate Judiciary Committee will make recommendations if there's findings that things need to be referred to the Attorney General for legal action, for criminal action, or we need to do something as prospectively. Anyway, we established another committee, a joint House and Senate committee for election integrity, and we can refer it to that special committee. That committee can come in anytime that's being called in, and they can examine and make recommendations of what they need to do next. If something warrants that we need to come in for a special session, that committee will establish the need for a special session, and then the governor can call ourselves in or another way of doing things. It kind of just depends on, you follow the evidence where the evidence takes you, and because there's a lot of room there on what things that can be done and cannot be done.
Right. Well, I know a lot of people are obviously very concerned about the fact that we've had a subpoena and they haven't honored the subpoena all along, and there's really been no enforcement of that to date. And so and then in hearing Warren Peterson talking a little bit about where this may be incomplete, I sharing with you, there's a little bit of concern about that going forward, but it sounds to me that you guys do have some things in your toolbox that you are planning on using, and we're going to continue to move forward. What are your thoughts of having at the end of this, having an incomplete audit?
Well, once again, you follow that evidence where the evidence takes you. If you have an incomplete audit, I'm not going to go there because I'm not going to telegraph any of the other strategies that could go forward.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we absolutely really need to make sure that we get this stuff because our vote is everything,
Right.
and we now know that there's a lot that they've been hiding, and a lot to hide. And I like you, really hope that the Board of Supervisors will turn around and do the right thing. I watched them yesterday buy, $2.8 million worth of more equipment that can be used, and we don't even have Dominion equipment, and we don't even have the audit complete yet. And they all talked about their character and their integrity and how this was the cleanest election around. And I, for one, hope that they go back and to their character and integrity that they say that they had, and provide the things that we need here in Arizona.
Well, maybe they should run down memory lane and remember how the election department got hacked on voter rolls, voter information. And as a matter of fact, there was a search warrant that raided a house back in October, November, around October, November. It was raided in December because they realized that there was
Erling from Fountain Hills.
Yeah, that they raided a house in Fountain Hills because they had a breach back in October, November. So, but, we don't know what happened. Of course, they say nothing happens. So, bottom line is they need to clean up their own backyard before they start pointing fingers at the state Senate. Because what we're trying to do is we're actually trying to serve the people of Arizona, Maricopa County, and Maricopa County voters need to step up to the plate and start holding their feet to the fire, the county supervisors, because they're coming out with all this defensive stuff, trying to defend their turf when they really they should be coming to the table to find out did they get breached, and let's get to the bottom of this. Their should be duty and honor bound to do so. So I'll let it go with that.
Well, I agree with you. Well, speaking of duty and honor, I want to thank you for doing, such a fine job of honoring your duty and honoring your oath to
I mean, he's amazing, right? Freaking fantastic. So this is one of the guys that's really got the muscle. And I mean, he's insinuating very heavily there's something else that's waiting for these guys if they don't follow through. So it's, oh goodness. So Georgia, let's move over to Georgia. Yesterday, finally, this is another piece. Stunning new claims, Georgia election riddled with provable fraud. This is the press release that was put out by Garland Favorito of Voter Georgia, which detailed the duplicate votes, the duplicate scanned votes, the tabulated sheets that were fraudulent, which are in the article here. This article is in the description box below, but we will watch this video quickly with my suspended Twitter account.
So what we're looking at here are two different batches of votes. Scanner 5162, batch 234, image 59, and scanner 5162, batch 235, image 19. And what you can see is that, like on this vote right here, we've got this exact same little tail that shows on both of them. And if you think that maybe that's, just a mistake or just a coincidence, here's the next one that shows, you can see Republican is written there, Republican's written there. This is ballot 61. This is ballot number 2. And then each one of them even has this little dot in the Fannie Willis.
Okay, and do you have more of those?
We have the entire batch. There's 62 images in here total, and I didn't even get a chance to go through all of them. But these are the most obvious ones, where it's clear that it's the same. This one's got the little tail on the side.
And so what happened? So do you know the numbers of these total batches?
I don't remember what the totals were when the batches. I don't think they weren't disparate. They were fairly close. But the simple fact that they occurred.
So if you see that little bubble right there, this is one image. Here's another image.
Exactly the same.
Exact same. And the batch number, what is it, 5162?
Also, scanner 5162.
Okay, scanner.
Batch number 235, image number 92, matches the same scanner 5162, batch 234, image 33.
So there you have it. Duplicate ballots. The entire batch is scanned several times.
So where's the evidence? I'm still really, really, really wanting this evidence. When is anyone going to produce any real evidence? I hope you hear the sarcasm. I hope you hear the sarcasm. Yesterday, this letter went out. I want to make it bigger, but I can't. From the Senate, from Burt Jones, asking Chairman Harbin, who is the chair of the Senate Government Oversight Committee, talking about bringing Raffensperger in to provide sworn statements about the change of address issues that the Federalists covered. 35,000 Georgians voted illegally, potentially. Fulton County's rampant mismanagement and potentially incriminating voter fraud, including newly uncovered evidence of double counting votes, forged tally sheets, and duplicated batches. The unlawful compromise settlement agreement and release, which made it more difficult for elections officials to flag potential absentee ballots. The unlawful compromise settlement agreement and release, the failure to obtain and verify chain of custody documents, updates on the more than 250 investigations allegedly opened by the Secretary of State's office regarding issues surrounding the 2020 election. So, yeah. And there will be an article being published shortly. I just want to let everybody know. I went live today, and like everyone I know who's hearing me live right now decided they were going to text me as I'm trying to do my live, telling me things that I should be talking about. Everyone. And Brian texted me on something completely unrelated. So if I seem a little distracted, it's because my phone is sitting here. I should just turn it off and go away and walk away. Wendy, stop it. So stay tuned for another article on what's going down in Georgia, because there's a lot more going down in Georgia today. A lot more. And Chairman Rob Pitts here was one of the most vocal about how perfectly executed Fulton County elections must have been. They were done perfectly. If there was any ounce of problem with Fulton County elections, Chairman Rob Pitts would know, and he would root it out, and he would find it. So Chairman Rod Pitts is going after Brad Raffensperger today because Raffensperger is saying that Pitts should resign because the Secretary of State should take over elections in Georgia because Pitts did such a bad job. And Pitts is saying, Raffensperger, you little devil, why are you doing this? I thought we were on the same team. Seriously. There's a lot happening on the election integrity front. And when we first started covering all this stuff, people were like, why are you paying so much attention? Nothing's ever going to happen. Just stay tuned. There is so much going on right now. So much going on. So that's interesting. And don't ever forget, there is a Fulton County investigation, a criminal investigation ongoing right now too, where the DA sent preservation notices to all of these like high-level officials. And I don't care if Carly reported me. I can't find her in these chat logs. I'm using a software to view the chat. I'm not on the stream. But let her report me. Whatever. Like, if they censor me off of YouTube, I'm on Rumble, I'm on CloutHub, I'm on DLive, I'm on... Let's just go through all the platforms I'm on when they finally censor me from YouTube. You could find me on Rumble. The channel's Uncover DC. You could find me on CloutHub. The channel is Uncover DC. It's a dedicated channel on CloutHub TV. You can find me on Gab. You can find me on Telegram. You can find me on Parler. You can find me on Getter. I'm on Getter. You can also find me on BitChute. You can find me on, BitChute, Rumble, CloutHub, DLive, where else? There's a few other platforms. Anyway, you can go to linktree.com/uncoverdc. It's in the description box below. My podcast is on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcast, Stitcher, TuneIn, etc., so on and so forth. But again, I ask, where's the evidence? You know, all these people throwing out all these claims of voter fraud with like no evidence or anything. It's horrible. I mean, there's no evidence of voter
fraud.
fraud.
What we're looking at here are two different batches of votes. Scanner 5162.
There is no evidence.
Batch 234, image 59.
Look,
And
there's
scanner
no evidence. Look.
5162, batch 235, image 19.
You see?
And what you can see is that
Look at
like on
this.
vote right here.
Two different
we've got
batches.
This
That's-
exact same little tail
Guys, this
that shows on both of them.
okay. This isn't evidence. This is not evidence. This is just a FOIA from Fulton County of ballots, and there's duplicate ballots in all different batches. And I mean, you can look at the stuff yourselves and find it. You know, where's the evidence, guys? Where's the evidence? Ridiculous people claiming there was any kind of shenanigans in the 2020 election without any evidence. There's no evidence,
And
guys.
if you think that maybe that's, if you think that maybe that's just a mistake or just a coincidence,
Whoops.
here's the next one
Oh,
that shows. You can see Republican is written there, Republican's written there. This is ballot 61. This is ballot number 2. And then each one of them even has this little dot in the
oh my
thing
gosh,
that
look
is-
at that. That's just a coincidence. You know, so many coincidences, so little time. So many coincidences, so little time. So many coincidences, so little time. I mean, batch 32, batch 63, same vote in each batch. I wonder how that could possibly have ever happened. Does anybody have any idea? Guys, I really, 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 really could use your support for Uncover DC. Seriously. If you could help us, it would be so greatly appreciated. Go to uncoverdc.com/support. Become a newbie for $5 a month. $5 a month. I was deplatformed from Patreon. I'm scraping by on a tiny little bit from Subscribestar because some folks went over there. I'm basically running on a savings account that doesn't exist. Support Uncover DC, please. Help us keep doing amazing journalism. uncoverdc.com/support. uncoverdc.com/support. And I will continue to come live over the next, couple weeks, trying to share this information with you guys. Amazing journalism being done at Uncover DC. I think I have a really awesome guest lined up for the podcast next week also. And I'm fighting these jerks everywhere. I'm fighting them in our own party. I'm fighting them on the internet. I'm fighting them everywhere. The Karens and the nonsense and the BS. So follow along. Help me fight. Stand with me. Love you guys so much. Thank you, Amy. That is really, really kind of you. I love you guys. And I will talk to you very soon.